Welcome to Diversity Gamification MOOC course. It's Flavio Escribano and Jordi Moreton from Gcon.es to talk about social aspect on gamification. We'll talk about the uses of gamification for social changes, especially focus on both serious game and pervasive experiences. We hope you enjoy this divergent point of view about this complex phenomenon that gamification is. Even before the proliferation of writing, we have a corpus of evidence about the importance of playing in human culture and society as a group. Children, teenagers, adults, and even elders use gaming as a social way to learn, improve, train, compete, or encourage others through motivating and admiration as well as the desire to improve oneself. We don't call this process gamification yet, perhaps because we don't call gamification to processes out of the digital realm, though sooner than later this will be recognized as such. In my opinion, video games have evolved and transformed thanks to this digitization process to the point to be used as element of persuasion and change, as Ian Bogos explained in his book. Not by accident, in 2004, was born a very important platform for change through the use of games called Games for Change. Games for Change brings together a great diversity of profiles like artists, educators, sociologists, philosophers, developers, politicians, etc., with the main goal to facilitate the creation and distribution of games with a huge social impact. In my opinion, despite Sebastian Terdian's dissection between toys, serious game, gamification, and playful design, all of those are a manifestation of the same human initiative. That is, the individual learning about his body, about the surrounding objects, about the collective to which he belongs. In this meaning, for example, the wooden sword, probably built by a process of playful design, and the body of the player, a child for example, are toys. The action of fighting with other children could be a kind of serious game or a simulation process, which generate experience and learning. And the goal of this kind of experience could be called the gamification, like a process of learning. How, for example, to learn to use a weapon. Depending on the society and the era, that could be essential for the survival of the player, of this child in the future. Thus, for us, this holistic concept of gamification includes toys, serious game, and playful design as different manifestations of gamification. A tool used by a human to experience, learn, motivate, and ultimately change those behaviors that have the most impact in our environment, economy, ecology, social aspects, etc. We give this consideration as a question that we are going to develop later in our blog, Gcon.es. We think that academic community should agree in a taxonomy to classify the role of game in all contexts and uses. As we don't want to complicate further our contribution of this course, we prefer to leave such thought in the air and use for now the Darwin's classification. Serious game for games with a purpose and gamification for action that use games element in game context, without becoming itself a game. Both of those definitions being not free of controversy at all.
Hi, this topic is about serious games for the change. As most of you know, serious games as a concept appeared in the early 70s. There's a paper from Clark Abt about it, but only recently it became a popular topic, in part thanks to many frameworks for the development of serious games in many fields as politics, science, health, safety and ecology. Most of the serious games are designed to persuade, to educate, to create mindsets, at the same time create awareness and certain knowledge about situations, allowing players to position themselves and change their behaviors according to the new knowledge. Some of the most interesting serious games that I have found are, for example, Dumb Ways to Die. It's about pedestrian safety, using black humor and the irony of the goal of this game is to educate metro users in safety basics. Another serious game called Paper Please, about politics. It's not designed originally like a serious game, but we could say Paper Please is a politic game. In this sense, its goal appears to be the emotional engagement of players on the problem of people migrations. Catchment Detox is about ecology, specifically about managing a river catchment while creating a sustainable and thriving economy in a real-world scenario where water is a scarce resource. Another serious game called Actual Sunlight, that's about health, and the game puts you in the role of a young professional who moves through 3 distinct periods of his life. The story is linear, unavoidable and thought-provoking, and the player experiences the main character perceptions, fall under the consequences of his decisions and meet everyone who didn't change him. It's a short interactive story about love, depression and the corporation. Papo and Yo, that's also about health, is a game designed by Vander Caballero, who created a story based on his own past in dealing with an abusive alcoholic father. Bender uses a very beautiful metaphor of the relationship of the child with a poisoned frog-eater monster. Why can we say Papo and Yo is a serious game? Well, it's not evident, but implicitly it creates awareness about the alcohol problem. So it can be considered also a serious game, even if it's not explicitly developed as such. Well, there are many other serious games. There are some of them that are created for children to do complex tasks, even for adults. In the case of the diabetic children, Bayer developed a tool to allow the children themselves to manage their glucose levels and keep a stable level. So a question might be arise about such a tool. We don't really know if it's a medical device, if it's a serious game with a glucose sensor attached, if it's a gamified device for glucose measure. It's in the debate. The topic 3 is about gamification for social changes. In the gamification for change, or also called social gamification, the city, specifically the concept of a smart city, becomes a decision and intervention space for citizens. Space to improve, space to enrich, space to share. In this case, the goals are offline actions. The final goal are offline actions, learning to drive gestures which in turn led to changing events in the defined context of the city itself. There is a lot of talk and a lot of investment about incorporation gamification strategies in smart cities. From day-to-day urban planning and management to the most basic adequacy and exploitation of urban furniture to the uses of multimedia culture of today. Some interesting examples of gamification applied to smart cities and government might be such as MindMixer. MindMixer is a platform for the discussion and management of ideas, mainly through the feedback generation of a community with common interests, and also the visualization and measure of the real impacts of this feedback. It has elements of governance 2.0 and a simple basic gamification layer with redeemable tangible rewards to the most active users that earned the most points for their activity. There's also Fantasy Election 12 that was developed during the United States 2012 election, and it was driven by the MTV. It was a game based on the success of another game, Fantasy Football. So Fantasy Election's objective is to bring young people to the reality of the political life by involving them in the presidential elections. And some of the facts about the score of this political election league were taken directly from politifact.com, that was at the time a trustable source, and it is still. Although the number of registered players was substantially low, in the range of 16,000, the objectives of understanding, motivation and commitment defined by the game makers were finally met. Another example of gamification for social changes is Fold.it. As you might remember, in the late 2011, news shook the foundations of the community of serious games. Players solved a scientific puzzle about HIV enzyme in 3 weeks, thanks to a game called Fold.it. This serious game has very important implications in the real world of science and specifically health, since the mechanics of recombination of molecules is the central part of Fold.it gameplay, and the value is that it can be transferred to the field research. Other similar initiatives, not so known as Fold.it, are Eterna and Philo. Both of them use the same approximation as Fold.it, about playing to help to solve complex problems. All of this have an underlying main goal: to evaluate the human capacity for both pattern recognition and puzzle solving, and its main application in research.
In the case of serious game, it's in particular interesting the manual best practices game for change, that consider 8 steps to create a serious game for the purpose of social impact. The first of all is the audience. For whom are we designing? Questions related with age, gender, community, etc. This characteristic might limit the range of answers because some social or geographic groups have the access to technology and some others not. The second one, the context. Where will it be played? Will it be modeled space as a school, a library, a workplace? Will it be an individual use of that space, or it will be a common one, like home, like a kind of global game? 3. Impact. Which is the expected impact? What are the objectives? A perception or behavior change? a higher engagement of a specific collective, a high impact media presence, an action in the real world or in a digital social network. How many people do we expect to reach? 4. The platform. Which technologies are we going to choose? We have to choose between a console, mobile phone, website. Will the application need to be permanently connected to the internet? 5. Sustainability. Launch cost, maintenance and evolution if needed, cost to the user, monetization elements, and impact to the user must be taken account. Gameplay. Unfortunately, this is one of the most overlooked elements in creating a serious game. We can summarize gameplay as follows, in a context of serious game, of course. If it works as a game, then maybe can function as a serious game, but never the reverse. 7. Execution. Implementation. All around execution is about implementation. Consider the entire value chain of a game: design, an idea, rapid prototyping, testing, beta production, and final product launch, marketing, distribution, and user, etc. The evaluation, analysis of data obtained from the experience of its publication and shared with other academics, for example. According to research conducted, it can be said that most of gamification initiatives for social change management are still at a very basic and primal stage, but almost all are based on what we define like 6 key areas. The first, creation of challenges, problems, or ideas by the player themselves, not just the platform managers or institutions that promote the initiative. The second one, immediate feedback displays after player contribution, taking into account other user feedback and visibility in the platform, somewhat like karma. 3. The status or rating of player assigned by an internal assessment of the trajectory of each participant. 4. Results and impact of the contribution, both in the real world as in digital network participation. 5. Player identity building, by grouping them in topics of interest and their level of involvement. 6. Community or group, about the commitment to a collective with the same interest and the capacity to build communities of reciprocal interest. And 7. Simplicity in the interface design, like decision making through microgames or simplified interfaces with game-like aesthetic. And that's all our contribution to this university course.